Draft season is in full swing for fantasy baseball, so let's talk about some of those strategies that you should be using when you draft. Hey, what's going on, Headliner Nation? Kyle Richardson back here with another video on the Fantasy Headliners, talking some more fantasy baseball. And like I mentioned, fantasy baseball drafts are in full swing. We are getting ready for the start of the season now, and we're getting excited at this point. Spring training is well underway. Lots of good stuff coming out of Major League camp, minor league camp. But the reason we wanted to drop another draft strategy video is because we've noticed some different things happening, and you can see all of my points over to the side. And the first couple being some different things that we've noticed and why I wanted to bring you another draft strategy video. So do realize that we have another one out there that we've already talked about once. Feel free to go back and check that one out. But also leave a comment below if you have any questions about these strategies. If you have any questions in particular, keepers, drafting, doesn't matter. Leave those comments below. It's why we're one of the most interactive fantasy channels here on YouTube. We will get back to you. We will answer your questions, and we will help you get ready for the season. Please hit the like button on the video and also subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so yet. And if you're new to Headliner Nation, let us know so we can welcome you. And the first point I have listed up there, basically the first two actually do kind of go together. Now, one thing I always recommend to fantasy baseball owners is to draft later in spring training. Now, there are some people who like to draft early, and nothing against you, okay? I just prefer to draft later. I prefer to have all the information in front of me, especially when it comes to injuries, guys missing camp, things like that. I want to have all of that information prior to actually doing the draft. Now, here's the caveat to that. If you draft early, these first 2 points don't really help you out a whole lot. But if you draft later, these 2 points are critical in being prepared and winning your fantasy baseball draft. And that's paying attention to trends and looking at ADP. So a lot of different sites that you can use out there for average draft position. But as we move through draft season, there's a lot of things that we can see fluctuate. There's a lot of things that we can see change. And one of the most important things that I've seen change so far is pitching. Now, when we did our first draft strategy video about a month or so ago, we talked about pitching and waiting on pitching and whether or not you want to go super early with that or you want to wait. And typically, I'm of the state of mind that I wait later to get my pitching. Really what I try to do is I try to go 2 hitters, 1 pitcher, another hitter, and then at that point I go best available, whether it be pitching or hitting, best available, best fit for my team. But I'm noticing a little bit of a trend because when we did this video a couple months ago, you could get a guy like Chris Sale mid to late second round. So if you were drafting mid to late first round, there was still a chance that you could grab Chris Sale on the way back through and maybe the second round. But that's been changing because Chris Sale has now moved all the way up to 11.2 in terms of ADP. So right now he's 11.2. Jacob deGrom has also moved. Now deGrom was behind Chris Sale at one point as well. He has now bumped up in front of Chris Sale, coming in at 11.0. The next closest ace, if you want to go ahead and use that term, is going to be Corey Kluber and Justin Verlander, both of them coming in at 21.0 ADP. So one thing that I've been telling people at this point, because I've seen such a change in the trends in the ADP, is that if you're wanting your ace and you're drafting in the late first round, it might be a good idea to take Chris Sale now. I don't think I have ever done a draft where I have taken a pitcher in the first round. Now, again, this depends on your league and your scoring as well. If it's a point league and, pitchers are a bigger commodity, then yeah, you need to be drafting them a lot earlier. If you play in a head-to-head category and something like that, so it changes out a little bit for me. But with this, because Chris Sale now has made his way into the first round, if you want an ace, you might want to take one right there. If you don't trust Justin Verlander, that could be kind of that starting point for you, where you're looking at Scherzer, deGrom, Chris Sale, Corey Kluber as those top aces. Maybe you throw Justin Verlander in there. Maybe you're someone that's a little turned off by his age and you don't want to take him and redraft. I get it. I don't agree with that. But I'm starting to notice a trend where I'm probably not going to go hitter anymore if I were to do a draft right now today. I would probably do pitcher hitter or hitter pitcher. But that's going to be what I would be looking to do in those first 2 rounds, is to get your ace, get your top hitter, and then go from there. And then after that, try to get as much value as possible. But I do think we've reached a point with ADP that this is going to be a pitching heavy season in terms of drafting. So you're going to want to keep an eye on that. So those 2 points kind of went together. My next point that I want to bring up is mock drafting. Now, a lot of people mock draft and a lot of people don't. If you're a casual fantasy baseball fan and you don't really mock draft, you get ready for your 1-2 drafts a year, that's great. There's nothing wrong with that whatsoever. I love talking fantasy sports with the casual fans a lot because they have a lot of questions. They bring up a lot of points, and it's fabulous. I love all of that. I'm not one of those fantasy guys who says, oh, you have to be in dynasty leagues and you have to do it. Not at all. Whatever you love, do it. As long as you're playing, that's cool with me. So, but I bring that up because if you're a casual fan, you don't really think about mock drafting and stuff. I highly encourage you to start doing that. But even if you're somebody who mock drafts a lot, I'm going to recommend that you don't mock draft people you like. That's right. So when you're doing mock drafts, one of the reasons you do those is because you want to see where guys that you like in terms of ADP are going to fall within a draft. So don't draft them. Let other people draft them. If other people are drafting them, then that's going to kind of help you get some sort of a take on, okay, these are where these guys are going, and then maybe some more mock drafts after that. Then you start saying, okay, I'm going to take this guy here because this is where I've seen him going. I might have to jump around earlier than I thought now, and then you can kind of work your way through the draft after that. So a few of the first drafts that you do in terms of mock drafts, don't pick guys that you like. Stay away from them and just use it as a tool to keep an eye on the guys that you do like and where they will go, and you just handle your draft differently. And it's a good idea to try different strategies as well. I don't love drafting pitchers early. I just mentioned that. But because of those trends and things that I just talked about, I've been doing a couple of mock drafts where I've changed that, and I've tried taking starting pitchers much earlier. That way I can kind of gauge, where are the hitters that I like? Where are they falling? Where are they going? Where could I end up getting them now? Is there going to be that big of a drop? Maybe I was drafting some guys a little bit too early, and now I know, okay, they're not going to go that early. I can go ahead and bump back my projections around or two. So mock drafting, super important, but keep an eye on where guys are going and do some mock drafts where you don't pick guys that you like. And finally, this last point is something that doesn't get brought up nearly enough, and it's paying attention to minor league reports. So I did a video a couple weeks ago about breakout candidates for the 2019 season. And in that video, I purposely only selected minor league players that may not start the season on their major league roster, that are vying for roster spots right now. Because as a fantasy owner, and especially in fantasy baseball, you really end up winning leagues and being very competitive in leagues when you are able to grab those guys off the waiver wire who are coming up to make some sort of an impact. So you have to keep an eye on the minor league reports. You have to know what minor league players are really close to getting to the major league level. You really need to keep an eye on what minor league players are doing very well in camp right now. But with all that going on, you also have to understand that just because a guy might be hitting 425 with a couple of bombs and has made some nice plays, doesn't necessarily mean he's going to start the year in the majors either. It is spring training. A lot of time these minor league guys aren't facing the top tier starting pitching. They're facing maybe some other minor league guys who are trying to win some spots as well. So don't be fooled by the stats alone. You really have to read into some of these guys and find out how they look and what the game plan is for their team. But write those names down. Keep a spreadsheet on your computer. I know it might sound a little bit odd to be keeping a bunch of spreadsheets with names on it. But if you keep some of these names listed somewhere, then you just stick that in the back of your mind and you're like, okay, this guy, when he gets the call, I need to get him. And then you know how to use your waiver wire as priority. So those are just a few other points that I wanted to bring up. Like I had mentioned, we had talked some fantasy baseball draft strategy a few weeks back now at this point. So make sure you go check out that video as well. Jake and I did that video together. So we both have some back and forth on that one on different things we like. So check check out both videos. They go together. Again, this one is just talking about different things that we've seen that have changed a little bit since we've done that first video, and just a couple of more points that I wanted to bring up as well. But if you haven't done your drafts yet, make sure you get on some mocks. Make sure you leave some comments below as well. Let us get back to you and help you prepare for the fantasy baseball season. That is what we are here for. Thanks so much for tuning into this video, and we look forward to seeing you on the next one. Have a good night, Headliner Nation.